So the id is all me, right, Jan? But the ego is what allows us to interact with other people.
Well, the id is pre-social. The ego is social in that it has to do with your being around other people. And social connection is really one of the issues that we really need to understand much more clearly than most people do. We want to understand how nations work, how politics works, or what governments are all about.
How so?
We are social beings. Without our social abilities and our social instincts, this species would never have existed.
So you're saying it's genetic?
The fact that human beings have societies is a biological part of our genetic makeup. But the point is, our social nature is something that must be in the forefront if we want to understand what we're doing.
Okay, and we'll get into ego needs in a little bit, but people don't really use the word ego anymore in the Freudian sense.
Scientists don't use the word ego anymore. No, it's too confusing. They don't talk of it as a thing the way Freud does. You can't say the ego. They talk about one's humanness, one's humanity, one's sense of self. Those are the terms that are used now. So they don't use that. And the word ego, id, and superego are changed, and they're really not that important anymore.
And I might add for our listeners that the superego is sort of our conscience, right? Our sense of right and wrong. But we're not going to get into that here. The main reason I wanted to talk about ego, Jan, is that our sense of self plays a huge role in our daily struggles. I call it sense of self. Does that work for you?
My consciousness is where all this stuff comes from. It's my sense of self. Consciousness of self-consciousness is the beginning of all that. The fact is that we are conscious of the things around us, and we are conscious of the fact that we are conscious of those things, and it's that consciousness of our consciousness that is our sense of self.
All right, cool. My point here is that we bring our sense of self, whatever that may be, and it changes on a daily basis sometimes. We bring our sense of self, our sense of value and purpose to every situation, be it work or romantic relationships or even God. And I know you're an atheist, so I'll put it in terms of a quest for meaningfulness or an experience of the sublime. But our egos affect the people around us, and our egos are affected by the people around us. People step on our toes and hurt our feelings, or they appreciate us and they love us, and that makes us feel better about ourselves.
Now, you're talking about your reactions to people, right? People make us react, and our sympathetic nervous system is very much sensitive to what people are doing. Our genetic makeup is to look at other creatures, including our fellow humans, with a great deal of a sense of they could be dangerous. We're really just built to look for danger. Fear is the master feeling that people have. Everything is based on fear from the beginning. Every other thing that comes out in our consciousness, other than fear, is just some kind of a way of adapting to the fear.
But wait a minute. We also have impulses for belonging and achievement, don't we?
But the impulses you're talking about are secondary. That's all. And we don't need to dwell on fear. I'm just saying that we have to understand that that's the starting point. And that's what we always fall back on when we lose our ability to control ourselves. Control itself is a way of preventing fear or fearful things happening. Just the idea that we can consciously make decisions and do certain things that are good for ourselves as opposed to bad for ourselves is a higher level of development than a lot of animals have, though most of them have them more instinctively than we do. But the point is, it's a higher level of development that we are able to use to have some control over our environment. And that means control over ourselves to begin with.
And ego, of course, is what facilitates that control. Okay, thank you, Jan. Next week on Word Smatter, we'll discuss ego needs. Until then...